So here we are, everybody. We're streaming from, what's it called? Dean and DeLuca. And it's great to have you with us. Of course, I'll do my usual, make sure that you can hear us. Okay, we've got our microphones on. My name's Tim Newton, and this is Nick.
Hi, everyone.
So Nick is joining us today, and we can see that it looks like it's joining. So let's make sure that you can hear us. We've got plenty to talk about. As you can see, there's a bit of a, I suppose you could call it a generation gap today, because I'm just a few years older than Nick. So skip ads and just make sure that you can hear us. Yes, perfect. Sound's coming through. So everything's good. So look, great to have you with us, everybody. And we've got a sort of an opportunity today that we're not going to be talking about anything in particular. We don't have any particular topics. Nick's not an ophthalmologist. We had an eye doctor here last week. I was going to have a snake person here today, but talking about snakes, but he didn't come. I fear he probably would have brought snakes. Have you ever come across a snake in Thailand?
A few times actually at the house.
Yeah. You don't live in Thailand without coming across a snake. What sort of snake was it?
This was a little tiny garden snake, I want to say.
Little green snake?
Yeah, a little green black snake. It's actually in my room, which is the best part.
So are you okay with snakes?
I'm okay with snakes, yeah.
No, I'm not good with snakes. Spiders, I'm okay. Coming from Australia, spiders don't bother me, but snakes, I was about that far away from a
Cobra.
king cobra. My cats were about to attack it.
Okay.
And I sort of went into save the cats mode, and I was staring this thing in the eye and just inched my way there, grabbed one cat, put it under one arm. The cat was screaming, grabbed the other cat, still eyeballing the thing, and just backed away. And I got back into my living room thinking, you idiot. I was like that far away from this cobra. But no. So look, we've got a bit of a generation gap thing today. So I thought this could be interesting to get the views of a young, Thai person, but you're Lukrun, you're...
Yeah, I'm 50-50.
50-50. So American dad,
Yes.
Thai mum, and educated in both America and Thailand.
Yes.
You've sort of really experienced a bit of both. Mm-hmm. So you've got some quite interesting attitudes I've just summed up in the last hour. You're quite an old soul. You like 80s music?
I like everything.
Tell us your favourite music.
I mean, I listen to Peter Frampton a lot. I like...
That was one of the best albums of the 80s.
Comes Alive. Yeah.
Peter Frampton. Comes Alive.
Yeah.
Is he still around? He must be about
I think
110.
I think so. But I mean, everything. I actually listen to a lot of Billy Joel. I'd say Billy Joel definitely dominates my music taste.
Okay, so Billy Joel. I've sort of moved on a bit musically. I mean, I like listening to my guilty pleasure. You'd never guess in a million years.
Your guilty pleasure, Barry Manilow.
No.
Okay.
No. He's still in Las Vegas, I think. He's had a little bit of work done, I think. But no, I love K-pop.
No.
I love K-pop.
You really?
Yes. One thing that we're going to be talking about today, actually, is military service in Thailand, because Thailand still has conscription. Mm-hmm. And I know a bit about South Korean conscription because a lot of these K-pop bands...
Jimin has recently been conscripted.
Jin?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I guess... Okay.
So this is actually a big topic in South Korea, where some of these K-pop bands, which are just like at the peak of their career, they sort of have to suddenly curtail their pop careers, no matter how good they're going, and go into 18 months to 2 years in the military. We're going to have a talk about your military service as a young Thai, putting your Thai hat on. Do you have trouble with your Thai hat and your American hat?
No, they mix together very well.
Bit of conflict from time to time.
I guess, well, yeah, when I'm here, I'm a little bit more reserved in what I say.
Pancakes or pad thai?
Pancakes.
I think so. I think so. All right. So look, we've got Jason here. We've got Rick, the Snides. We've got Checo. Where is the place? We're at Dean and DeLuca, which is in Boat Lagoon in Phuket.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of a cloudy day. They are predicting rain, but so far it's been okay. So yeah, that's where we are. Dean and DeLuca So Pillow says, there we are. Dean and DeLuca. Give them a free ad because we're using their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And we've had breakfast here and they've given us some water. I think we're paying for the water too. Okay. So we just sort of want to answer your questions. And if you've got any questions about what a young Thai thinks about various issues, then, throw them at Nick. The worst he can do is say, I don't want to answer that.
Chef Noel recently asked about the Burma-Myanmar borders and the Malaysian borders there.
Oh, how safe they are.
In regards to what's happening there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you head down into the southern part of Thailand, like on a visa run, if you're staying on the main roads, then it's quite safe. There has never been an attack on tourists or foreigners or people on the main highway. All the action, and yeah, there's been 7,000 people die over the past 20 years down in that southern insurgency, but it all sort of happens off the main roads in what we'd call sort of the deep south. But if you're a foreigner here, you could head to the deep south and have and not have any problems at all, and it's a very beautiful part of the world. As far as the Myanmar border is concerned, you've got a 2,500 kilometre long border. What's that in miles?
2,500 kilometers?
It's about 1,600 miles.
1670.
There you go.
Give or take.
Paul Henry likes Elvis. Well, you're way back before the 80s.
Yeah.
Which Elvis do you like? Do you like the rock and roll Elvis? Do you like the Las Vegas Elvis? Or do you like the film Elvis of the 60s? My best movie this year, by far,
was Elvis.
I loved
great.
Elvis. Amazing movie.
I liked Tom Hanks's performance in it, and I actually really liked the whole cinematography aspect of it as well, and how they covered everything chronologically. It was great, and seeing the different eras of him.
Filmed in Australia.
Yeah.
On the Gold Coast. Baz Luhrmann, the director, who is an acquired taste. You're either going to sort of like him or not like his directing style. But this year, by far, Elvis was a standout in the movies. The Snives says he likes young Elvis. So were you into Elvis at all? I mean,
Yeah.
he's died long before you came around.
Lots of the musicians I listen to have kind of
Gone.
have kind of gone out with a bang in recent years.
Some of them with a smile on their face, some less so.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about the Myanmar border. At the moment, Myanmar obviously is in a bit of a state of flux. They've got a military government running the place. They've got a lot of rebels, a lot of fighting. Most of that isn't really happening around the border region. At the moment, you can't cross over the land borders into Myanmar as a foreigner, so you can't do like a visa run, for example. You can fly into Yangon at the moment, and my understanding is it's relatively safe. Personally, I would not go near the place, but they've got problems they need to sort out. But as far as I know, the border areas are relatively safe. But as a foreigner, you're not allowed to cross over the land borders into Myanmar at the moment. I like Blackpink, and I'm an old white guy. Well, of course. Thanks, Jeff. Got a few questions there?
Yeah. So how does Nick view Thai-USA relations currently, and does he understand the historical links with Thailand and the USA? Former king born in USA. So yes.
He was born in Boston.
He was born in Massachusetts.
Yes.
He spent very early years in Massachusetts until he did go and study in Europe for a long time with his brother, I believe. But I mean, I understand some older connections as well. So I mean, if we're going back way long ago, in the 1860s during the American Civil War, the Thai king at the time offered to send Abraham Lincoln, believe it or not, hard to believe, he offered to send Abraham Lincoln some war elephants
That
to
was
help.
covered in the movie The King and I.
Yeah, to help with
King Chulalongkorn.
yes, to help with the ongoing conflict there. And Abraham respectfully declined the decision, but very interesting to think about.
He still won the Civil War.
Yeah, didn't need the elephants.
Didn't need the elephants.
But nice gesture.
Oh no, that was King Mongkut, whose son was Prince Chulalongkorn, who became Rama V. But it was King Mongkut who wanted to send the elephants. Have you seen the movie The King and I?
I have not seen The King and I.
That was my first exposure to Thai culture. Got a bit of a shock when I arrived here. It wasn't anything like the movie. There's another question for you.
Good day, Nick. Question. What is it with Thai language and giving directions? Many times I've witnessed between Thais giving directions results in total confusion. I'm going to have to agree with you because personally I don't speak very much Thai at all because I've spent a lot of my early years in the States, so there was really no need to speak it when everyone spoke English. But I'd say in many situations, even in Home Pro or any convenience store, asking for very basic things results in multiple staff getting involved with a single inquiry. I don't know what it is, but what I can say is that it's mainly just the language barrier. Even if I were to give directions like sai and kwa for left and right, it still gets misinterpreted. So I can't really help you with that.
Is your Thai language 100%?
No, not at all. It's like 10%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I speak more Mandarin than I do Thai. I can read and write Mandarin.
How did you get into studying Mandarin?
At Head Start, you were...
At a school in
yeah,
Phuket.
Head Start School Phuket, just down the road. It's mandatory to take a second language option from year 7 to 9, I believe. And so I took Mandarin, which is how I know Mandarin. It's conversational, but it's nothing too deep.
Durian. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. A kind donation to us. I've got to pay for Nick's breakfast today, so thank you very much to all those people that volunteer a bit of cash to help things along. It is very much appreciated. Now look, a question came in, I think it's a question more to me from Scott D. Going to talk about your military service next. How often do you re-watch your old episodes? How long of a shelf life does each episode have on average? I never go back and watch any episodes. I've never gone back and watched an old episode of TNT. I certainly haven't been back onto my previous employer's website to watch the 900 odd videos. The shelf life, because I basically do news, these Saturday morning programs are a bit different, but because they sometimes cover a lot of general topics. But during the week, because we do news, they really only have about a 24-hour shelf life because it's news. So from a business point of view, my monetization has to be in that 24-hour window, and then basically it's gone, and I've got to replace it with a new episode. So thanks for that, Scott D. Let's have a talk about conscription.
Okay.
As a young Thai, you've got a Thai citizenship.
Yes.
You had to do conscription. Tell us about conscription in Thailand.
Yes, so from the moment you turn 18, you become eligible for Thai military service, and there's a full enlistment, and there is the ROTC, if you will, that you can take before that. So many and most Thai children and 50-50s like me will, the school provides a course that you can take with other schools as well, known locally as RADA, and that makes you exempt from having to fulfill your mandatory military service when you turn 18 or 21. So that way, it occurs in 3 segments. Each of them are a month long, and it occurs over 3 years. So you do 1 month 1 year, another month 1 year, and 1 month next year. And that makes you exempt from having to draw a card out of the lottery system.
How does the lottery system work, and what are your chances of being drafted?
I mean, everyone always talks about the possibility of being able to bribe your way out of it, but realistically, I'd say
I've known of quite a few people who have done that. I can even tell you how much was paid.
It's more than likely that you will be drafted, And then in that case, it'd be a 2-year full military service.
And there's always the yearly draw, which is done around Thailand. April.
In April,
and the media always focus on the lady boys that turn up to get drafted or not drafted.
Yeah.
So would you put on a dress to get out of military service?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'd do a dress, but I think it's plenty to just do the 3 months, because 3
You'd
months...
make a very ugly woman, I think.
Thank you, flattering. 3 months in comparison to 2 years is nothing, so I'd rather just do that. And you get to do it with your friends from school, so...
Because if you were like into the Thai army, your biggest problem would probably be communicating with all the Thai people around you.
Absolutely.
Are you conversational in Thai?
No.
Wow.
So I only know directions like Sai and Kwa because
Liao Sai, Liao Kwa.
Yeah, they shout that when you march, like left, left, right, left.
Right.
And that's probably all I know. But if the general shouts at me loud enough, I'll probably understand what he wants me to do.
Ian McNamee, Tim would look good in a frock. No, I wouldn't. I don't have the legs for a dress. Thank you very much, Ian, for the compliment. I'm not sure.
Comments about the fashion industry with Blackpink.
Okay, so we'll go through some of them. I'm going to blow my nose.
Jason, you're speaking about Blackpink killing it in the fashion industry, as well as Jeff. And I'd say they are really good ambassadors to those different brands. And yes, in terms of elevating the fashion industry, I'd say that K-pop is the scene to look for. It is
not just fashion.
Everything.
Everything. Musicality, choreography,
Stage presence.
They're all so well trained.
Yes.
They're manicured in their looks to such an nth degree.
Yeah.
The way they perform, it's just on a whole different level. I found it astonishing the way K-pop has real music, all from that one little country that makes good cars and refrigerators.
Televisions.
And televisions. I've had 2 Korean cars, South Korean cars, had a Kia and a Hyundai in the past. But I've just bought, as I mentioned to you, a Chinese car. Full electric Chinese car. You sort of poo-pooed that when you first heard it.
Well, it's the made in China stereotype for me. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that Tesla's definitely dominating the market, because they're one of the only electronic car manufacturers around. But I mean, the whole idea of electric cars, to me, I don't find it... There's definitely a future where that's possible, but if it's right now, I think hybrid is probably the best bang for your buck. Because on an island like here, right? We'll take this scenario. Phuket, you can get around Phuket on a nice electric charge, sure. But then, rural parts of Thailand aren't going to have an electric carport.
But all you need is 240 volts. You can plug in and charge overnight.
Yes, but that's also for your short commute to work and lunch and around the island. If, let's say, you were living in the States where, I mean, the majority of the population drives to work, some even across different states, then the electric car reliability becomes...
Try that one there.
Becomes a little bit more...
Look, I think it's the early days of... how are you going there?
I can't.
Battling the system?
Yeah, I am battling the system.
Thank you while finding
I
KJ's comment. Thank you very much to Ken RQ. Much appreciated. I really do. Thank you very much. And look, we've got the generation gap today, and that KJ, I thought that was a good question for you.
So the general attitudes Thais have towards conscription, it's more of a, it's a very...
Because Thailand and the military are just sort of so intertwined, aren't they?
I'd say most young Thais have the same attitude they've had towards it for a lot of time. They don't want to do it. Nobody really wants to do it, but you have to. So it's just an oh well kind of view that we share. And what are you going to do? For some, escaping the country is not an option, and for others, you'd have to forfeit or denounce your citizenship. So
really?
Yeah. So okay, how about a friend of mine He's also 50-50. I say 50-50 because that's how we call it colloquially. He recently
Thank you, Scott.
determined on a German citizenship paper that he had served for the Thai military, and he actually got his German citizenship revoked because he served in a foreign military body.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Very complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you 50-50s have sort of got some difficult choices to make.
Yeah, so I chose to do the 3-month service because it's not very long and I get to keep both passports, which is, in the world today, it's very ideal.
Sure. Scott D, thank you very much. Scott, he's a regular viewer, usually writes a comment every day. Greetings from the Windy City, he says. This January will mark my 30th year anniversary of travelling to the Kingdom. He's done 12 trips.
Chi-town.
How do you get from the United States to Thailand? You'd be flying Singapore Airlines, or you'd fly Chinese airline, or Korean Air?
Singapore is very popular.
Right.
So Singapore, you can get one out of JFK directly to Singapore. It's like the longest flight in the world. And then from Singapore straight to Phuket or Bangkok.
So what sort of aircraft are you flying from JFK to Singapore?
From JFK to Singapore, it's typically an A380 or a 747.
Okay, 747. I think they might have been those. The last Boeing 747 actually rolled off the production line this week.
Really?
It's going to be used by a cargo company called Atlas. It's a 747-800, and it's the very last jumbo. I remember when the first jumbo took to the skies in 1969. And while we're speaking about aircraft, and we were talking about Chinese cars, the Chinese have just launched their very own homegrown single-aisle passenger jet this week. I think I pulled the plug out. It's called a C919, built by a conglomerate called Comac. It's sort of same space as the Airbus 320 or the Boeing 737. That's a single aisle. Morning, Paul.
Morning.
So interesting times where the Chinese are now going to be using their own homegrown, home-built aeroplanes. Would you be a bit funny getting into a Chinese plane?
Well, since you mentioned that their air regulations are much more strict than other countries, and in today's ever so technologically driven world, I'd be a little bit uneasy about it. But
They've got one of the most stringent aviation safety controls in the world. I think a lot of people sort of look at China as being unsafe or doing things on the cheap, but when it comes to aviation, they do take it deadly seriously. So I think the big impact for like Boeing and Airbus, they'd be looking to China as one of the biggest, fastest growing aviation markets in the world and thinking they could sell lots of aeroplanes, but looks like the Chinese are going to be buying their own single aisle aircraft for at least for domestic travel in the future. Would you fly on the new Comac C919 out of China? If you're flying through China, the chances are in the future you'll probably be flying on one of their jets. Okay, so Les Shepard said, I flew from Chicago to Tokyo on United Airlines, then to Bangkok on ANA, a Japanese airline, both on the Boeing 787.
yeah, you can do that. Well, there are many different connections you can take. So a popular one we also take is Singapore through Frankfurt, or Emirates through Dubai and then to Bangkok. But you know, you can take it. So right now, I'm leaving to the States in 3 days. I'm taking Korean Air from Bangkok to Seoul and Seoul to Minneapolis.
Whoa, how long's that flight? That's 10 hours and
10 hours plus, but I don't mind. You get movies and you get pampered. It's like it's not bad.
Are you flying up the front?
No.
Just checking.
I find that if you ask the flight attendant very nicely and bat your eyes, you can get Haagen-Dazs on board.
Okay, good. So you're talking about conscription. There are quite a lot of Asian countries that do conscription. Indonesia, we found out this morning, they have it on their books, but it's not compulsory.
Yes.
Singapore, you have to do conscription, 2 years.
Yes.
Thailand, you have to do conscription, 2 years,
Yes.
unless you wear a dress,
Or do the 3-month program.
which
Or
Nick
just
did.
leave.
Or just leave and good luck to you, and you can't sort of come back. South Korea, which we noted for, we learned that through all the K-pop bands. China, do they have conscription? We're not sure.
We're not sure.
Myanmar, got any Burmese friends?
No.
Okay. Vietnam?
Malaysia. Malaysia doesn't have one.
Okay, so it's a bit of a mixed bag in Asia. A lot of Western countries now don't have conscription, but quite a few Asian countries still do have conscription, and young people like Nick have to navigate their way through the processes. Did you even get a quote on buying your way out of doing military service?
Well, no, because it's not horrible. It's not, it's not like in the movies where well, I guess it is kind of like the movies. Everyone's in a line and you have to do push-ups and whatnot, but it's not horrible. They don't treat you that poorly.
We do hear on the media some horror stories from time to time about hazing in the military, the bullying and they call it hazing.
I think we're definitely, as a group of half Thai, half foreigner children, we're definitely kind of pushed aside from the majority of the military group. But also in some ways we're more looked up to because we've had that more international influence.
So yeah, when you go and do your service, you are sort of treated differently as a
little
nukrun?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so if you didn't want to do conscription and you wanted to buy your way out of it, do you know what the going rate is? I have worked for a company that's paid that to a military official so we could retain one of our employees.
Wow. I'd say...
So I know how much we paid.
So you know, okay. I'm going to say starting price is 20,000 baht.
Okay. We paid... Oh, you probably heard that. Sorry. Oh dear. So gorgeous Thailand, I think you're underestimating a bit saying 10,000 baht. I think the going rate is at least 20, but we paid double that for one of our employees. And that was because he was such a good employee. We didn't want to lose him for 2 years, and it proved to be a very good investment from our part. Although I suppose you would put it under the banner of us feeding the corruption tree here in Thailand. Again, as a young Thai, young American, what's your attitude towards corruption in Thailand?
I'd say Thailand's been shackled by corruption for very, very long. And if we ever want to, because I consider Thailand like a second world country, lots of people say it's third, but we have especially the healthcare technology in Bangkok, that we and the transport and the modernization that we have, it really does put us on the map.
And the internet.
And the internet.
Internet here is so
crazy.
good.
Yeah.
I went back to Australia in October. The internet was shit.
Yes.
And expensive, 3 times the cost and not half as good. So, I think it's a bit unfair to describe Thailand as a third world these days. Maybe some of the attitudes, maybe some of the traditions, but no, as a country to live in, it's definitely not.
It's definitely, I'd say Singapore and Thailand are my preferred countries in Southeast Asia. And in terms of development, I mean, Thailand, if they were to remove these shackles of corruption, can see a future in where, and if their investments are done correctly, where their GDP can rise exponentially.
2 interesting comments here. One from Rachel Masters, who says military service in China is mandatory within the People's Liberation Army.
Okay.
And Gorgeous Thailand says Thailand is far more than just Bangkok. Well, that's actually an interesting comment. Obviously, Thailand is more than just Bangkok. But when you discuss attitudes in Thailand and like sort of who runs Thailand, it really is Bangkok.
Yeah.
It's a very centralised government. All the provincial governors for the 76 provinces, plus Bangkok, are all nominated by the central government.
Yes.
I mean, Thailand, for all intents and purposes, really is Bangkok then everywhere else. Unlike Australia, where I come from, or the United States, where there's, you know, lots of cities over 1 million people. In Australia, we've got Perth, Adelaide, Darwin, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Hobart, Canberra, all probably within, you know, more than, some of them 4 or 5 million people, some of them maybe around 1 million, but we have lots of big cities. In Thailand, it's Bangkok
Yeah.
and everywhere else.
I'd say it is very centralized, but I understand that Thailand's way more than Bangkok, and it always has been. But for the purposes of business expansion and national growth, I will say Bangkok is the main encompassing element.
Andreas Schneider, in relation to your comments about first, second or third world, says third world means non-NATO, non-Warsaw Pact countries, not an economic state or standard of living. Look, there may be that definition, Andreas, but I think a lot of people sort of look at first, second and third world as sort of broad descriptions of economic capabilities. But Thailand is a real mishmash of cultures, traditions, modernity, old ways, religion. It's such a mishmash of so many things, which to me makes it such a fascinating place to live. BKK may be second world, but the rest is not. Well, again, I think that's pretty unfair, Teddy.
Yeah.
You live in Phuket. Look, you can live like a Thai and you can sort of be way up north on the island or out at the back of Pak Lok or something, but I mean, most of it, you've got good roads, modern cars,
Yep.
plenty of motorcycles,
You know-
excellent food delivery, you've got modern shopping centres if you want it.
It's funny you say that because here you always see new cars. For example, in the States, and I'm sure in Australia, lots of the outskirts of cities are dominated by 20, 15-year-old cars, you know, in that range. But here, there are always, whenever a new car is released here at least, there's always new cars being driven on the road. You see the red license plate everywhere, which shows
Brand new car.
money being pumped in and out of this island.
Very good point. And getting a second-hand car here is pretty easy because people do like upgrading their cars. People making their comments about parts of Thailand, people saying they like Chiang Rai.
Key J says, do the 50-50s train in their own separate platoons because of the potential language barriers? No, you're clustered into the same platoons, if you will, so there will be platoons made up of both 50-50s and full Thai men. But the language barriers, it's not really, you kind of get the gist of it because it's not just 20 of you listening to a general, it's 120. So all you have to do is follow along and blend in, and you can get through it.
Here's a question I don't know the answer to. Can Thai women do military service, or do they have to?
So Thai women can volunteer willingly to do RAW, and that's up to them to do. It's completely
That's the
up to
one
them.
you did.
Yes. So it's actually very popular because of the experience that it gives them. It's for everyone.
Are Thai women drafted into the army and given a gun?
There is gun training with them in RAW because that's what you do before your actual military enlistment. But as far as full enlistment goes, I don't know if they are conscripted. I know that for general training, it's for everyone.
Interesting situation in Thailand regarding the sexes, because Thailand has had a female prime minister, but there is a lot of sexism in sort of Thai culture. But I'd also say that most families, I'm looking to Nick here because he would know more than me, the Thai women do tend to sort of run things.
Yes.
So it's sort of a bit of soft power, I think, when it comes to women in Thailand. That's just my observation.
In households, it does tend to be the mother figure that oversees everything. For
The budget.
example, in our house here, it's definitely my mother who gets the final word.
But I think that's the way in quite a few households.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of the guy drives the pickup and sits outside drinking beer in the afternoon, but it's the wife that tends to allow him to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the impression
And
I
you
get.
hear a lot of foreigner boyfriends saying to others, oh, I got to go talk to my boss about it, and they're usually talking about their girlfriend.
Here's another comment from Azakai. Anyway, maybe next PM is female as well. Interesting, because it looks like the Per Thai party, which is the main opposition party, it might be another Shinawat who is put up as the prime ministerial candidate. Patongtan Shinawat, who is the youngest daughter of former Prime Minister and niece of Yingluck, will probably be nominated as the prime ministerial candidate. She's pretty raw and green. She hasn't had a lot of political activity or experience up to date, but I think they're trying to sort of get her up to speed pretty quickly. So, yeah, you could be right.
Scott says, should my 8-year-old son, U.S. citizen, half Thai, learn the Thai language? Although he's from Chicago, will there be career options in Thailand for him in the future? Well, we were just talking about how Asia is definitely going to dominate the latter half of this century and the next century to come. In terms of career options, military enlistment does not really offer that much. You have a military salary of 9,000 baht a month when you do full military service, but of course, if he has the option and if he is a U.S. citizen, there is more money to be made there. And I would advise, because I work in the States and come back to Thailand, working in Chicago or the United States in general would be better, so that way you can take that income and put it into Thailand. And here your money triples. So I'd say it's more worth it to work there. But in terms of learn the Thai language, it's always good to have more languages under your belt. That's always nice.
I can barely speak English. There was another interesting comment that I saw. Don't leave the weekly family budget in the hands of the average Thai guy. That from somebody who calls himself Food History. Hi guys, I'm new to this live stream, says Christina Rekinos, which is a name. Now, where would that name be from? Rekinos. Would that be a South American country? Argentina?
I'm thinking Latin.
I'm thinking Latin.
Yeah.
Anyway, Christina, thank you very much. Was a prime minister in Argentina called Cristina Kirchner, who I think is currently serving time in jail for corruption charges. One of my favourite cities in the world, Buenos Aires. Love the place. The best antique stores in the world.
Did you learn the tango there?
I went to a tango show because, I mean, here you have the Ladyboy show. In Argentina, you have a tango show, which went for about an hour and a half. And after the first 5 minutes, I thought, I've probably seen enough of this. But it is quite a beautiful dance, and the music and everything, and they really get into it. But the antique stores, I think after the Second World War, there are a lot of Europeans that went there, particularly from one particular country, and they took a lot of their antiques and stuff there. So the antique stores in Buenos Aires were amazing. I wanted to buy a whole lot of stuff and bring it back, but it wasn't possible. How are we going with our questions? How many people have we got online at the moment? Only 202 today.
Tim Teddy Bear says minimum wage US $10 a day, 350 baht is not even second world.
Well, that's a bit hard to compare apples with oranges there, because of course the cost of living here is so much lower.
Much cheaper.
So on 300 baht a day, you can probably get by.
Yeah.
Although, you're not going to be sort of eating in Dean and DeLuca and driving around in a EV.
But for what you can get in terms of street food and groceries and basic needs for living, it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can get a Thai meal, and I still do to this day.
Exactly.
You can get some great street food for 50 baht. You get a pad Thai or a pad see ew. What's your favourite Thai food?
Khao Pat Gai.
Well, that's pretty spicy.
Or actually, no, it's
Khao Pat Gai.
Khao Pat
sorry.
Gai Pisset. Yeah, I like getting a mountain of it and just going to town.
Chicken fried rice.
Yeah, it's very basic, but I enjoy it.
It does taste great.
Yeah.
Somebody used to live with me used to just eat cow pat guy
Every day.
all the time, every day.
I think that's me.
Never lived with me. Oh, by the way, we should say hello to your father, Nick,
Yeah.
who apparently has been watching, and he thought, oh, Tim deserves to be punished. I'm going to send my son to be on his program.
Yeah.
So that's how Nick ended up here.
Hi, Dad.
Rachel Masters, please don't forget to hit the like button. Oh, Rachel, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Azakai, Taiwan needs US troops permanently based there. Well, certainly I think as we look to the next decade or 20 years, or the rest of the half of this first half of this century, Taiwan is one of those hot spots in Asia that there'll be a lot of attention given on the tensions. I think after the recent visits of the US president and the meeting between him and President Xi from China, I think those tensions have sort of scaled back a little bit.
Yes.
Do you have an attitude or any thoughts about Taiwan?
About
Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan. I think I haven't personally been to Taiwan. I have been to China, but I'd say I like the independence that Taiwan has. But actually, when the Russian-Ukrainian war was at its peak and everything was really tense, I was others that I wouldn't be surprised if China would launch an attack to quick grab Taiwan while the Ukraine conflict was occurring. But that never happened. But
Is if they were thinking, oh, well, Russia can invade Ukraine and it's all
Exactly.
over in 2 or 3 days. No, it didn't
Yeah.
end up like that.
But I think Taiwan should stay independent because actually through history, Taiwan is the original China because the original party governing China at the time went to Taiwan, and then Taiwan went to China, and they switched over. I think
You're doing pretty well.
It's a very generalized rundown, but it's switched.
Somebody has a question to you. What is your favourite animal?
My favorite animal, I'd say a wolf. Wolves are cool. They're big dogs.
So you like big dogs.
I do.
What animals do you have at home?
None, actually, at the moment.
None?
No, we have koi fish. We have a koi pond.
They're not animals.
They're
They're decoration.
kind of there. We used to have an American Eskimo a long time ago. He was a good dog, Cody. A very fluffy, just cloud of white. Really.
Sounds like needs a wash every week. I've got 2 cats. They've inherited me, not the other way around. Talking about the cost of living in Thailand, Alan BC says 15 to 18,000 K a month covers food and room for sure, but is that all there is to life? Well, look, we're saying that you can get by on a minimum wage in Thailand, but yes, you are going to be living a fairly stripped back sort of existence. As far as a foreigner living here, I've always said minimum, absolute minimum is probably about 1,000 US a month, around about 35,000 baht a month for a foreigner is your drop dead minimum for anything that you could be calling a sort of a useful life, given that you've got to pay for health insurance, you've probably got to pay for visas, things like car insurance or even motorbike insurance. When you sort of add those into your cost of living costs, about 35,000 minimum per month is my guess. Michael, thank you very much for $5 donation. What's CA mean? 5 CA
Canadian dollars.
Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
I hope they're worth a lot, Michael. He says, I'll be spending 6 weeks in Phuket practicing Muay Thai. Do you do Muay Thai?
I don't do Muay Thai.
Have you ever done Muay Thai?
There was a very brief time in the Thai military where you could, there was like a tiny fight club set up where you could just spar with other people, but nothing intense.
You're not allowed to talk about the Fight Club. That's the first rule of Fight Club. What advice do you have on staying focused and dealing with distractions?
Well, what kind of distractions are we talking about?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. What advice do you have staying focused? If you're coming for a 6-week sort of health trip to Phuket, there are some excellent Muay Thai and different, some wellness camps, places where you can sort of learn massage, other places you can learn Thai cooking. So you don't have to sort of come here and wander up Bangalore Road and sit on Patong Beach. There's quite a lot of other things you can do here. To stay focused, I'd probably stay out of Patong. That's where you're probably going to find most of the distractions. And a lot of those distractions will come straight up to you and offer the distractions to you, sometime with a $ attached. So it's probably more about the attitude. If you're coming here to have 6-week intense Muay Thai training, hang out with the other people who are coming to do the same thing. They'll probably have the same attitude to you, that they're here for an experience. Hang around with some of the Thai instructors, find out a bit about their culture, ask them where to eat, what they should do, where you should go, because a place like Phuket is a lot more than Patong. Patong is only 3% of the land mass of Phuket. There's a lot more to Phuket than just Patong. I hope that was a good answer. It's heartfelt anyway.
Gorgeous Thailand says, one choice only, best place to live in Thailand as a single foreigner. Oh, sorry, Bangkok. All right, my bad, that was a comment.
Commented, what did he say? Bangkok's
he said, best place in Thailand as a single foreigner with a 60,000 baht per month budget. I believe they're talking about living in Thailand, in Bangkok with a restaurant worker budget.
Yeah, I mean, the 35,000 I mentioned was just my considered opinion about the base rate, the very bottom tier of living here. If you've got 60,000, 80,000, 100,000, you can really live a very happy, comfortable lifestyle in probably a small house or a really nice condo in Bangkok, and be eating out at some very nice places and not having to eat street food. Mind you, having said that, the street food in Thailand, it's not sort of like there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
If you buy a pad thai from a street food vendor, it'll taste exactly the same or even better than if you go to a fancy restaurant and pay 400 baht.
I tend to find that the restaurants really tone down the flavor and spice on their Thai cuisine. So that's why I prefer Thai food anyway, because
they dumb it down for Western tastes.
Exactly. I think the street food is the better food to have anyway, so I prefer it.
It's certainly fresh.
Yes.
When they cook it there in front of you.
Yeah.
So when you're sort of out and about and just sort of hanging with, say, maybe some Thai friends, people automatically assume you're Thai. And they greet you in Thai and they start talking Thai to you. What do you say?
I say, oh, Sawasdee Krap. Sorry, I don't speak Thai. And they go, oh. And then they just start to speak in English.
Okay. How do you find getting around Thailand with English as a language? Do you find that there is enough English spoken in many places that you can sort of get around Thailand?
I would say so. Of course, it depends on where you are as well. So if you're in Phuket, obviously, English will be known by some of the locals and you can get around that way. Bangkok, obviously, Chiang Mai. But once you start to drift into further territories, then it starts to be more difficult.
As Azaki, just one of these names I can't pronounce. Where did Nick get his driver's license?
Drove in the USA. Actually, I have 2 licenses. I have a Thai license and I have a US license. It's an instruction permit, and I can get a motorcycle license in there now. But I have both.
I got pulled up during the week. I was on my motorbike, which I've been driving for 12 years. At the moment, there's a story I need to tell you next week about my car being stolen. Anyway, that's a long story that I don't have time today. But I've been on my motorbike for about 3 months. And I got stopped the other day because I thought, I've got my helmet on, and they checked my license. My license is only for cars. If you don't have a motorcycle driving license or an international motorcycle driving license, you have to pay a 500 baht fine. And you can't scan it from your phone, you've got to pay cold, hard cash.
Yeah.
And will that cash go into general revenue for the police, or will it go into the pockets of the attending police officers? I don't have an answer to that, but I'll let you decide. Somebody nicked the Haval.
Yeah, someone got the Haval.
I didn't actually end up with a Haval. I actually cancelled the Haval. And this is going to come up in the next few weeks when I tell you about the new car I bought. And we are going to have some adventures in this car. And I think you'll find it very, very interesting. So, no, it was a Honda that was nicked. Oh, good heavens. Thank you very much to the Snives. Very much appreciate. What is the question? I'll have to...
Treats for Dina the Diva.
Do you know what that's about?
I do not know.
That's my cat.
Oh.
Dina will be very, very grateful. Oh, I'd show you a photo, but it's on the phone. The phone is pointing at us at the moment. By the way, if you want to know, I use for the streaming of these live things during the week, on Saturdays, and also as the camera for my weekday program. It's an iPhone 14, and of course we're using the front camera.
It is very clear, I gotta say. That's
well,
very
the
impressive.
camera on the others, the back camera is
It's
even better.
Yeah.
And it's got bokeh and all sorts of really cool effects. This is a really amazing phone.
The Australian Kiwi says he arrived in Thailand 35 years ago, and the change in that time is beyond my expectations. Where do you think Thailand will be compared to, say, a country like Australia in the next 35 years? 35 years.
I couldn't answer that if you asked the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Because
Anything could happen.
so many, I mean, Thailand is facing an election early next year. I think that's going to be change a lot of things. And a lot of things that you think are legal now, I don't think will be legal after that election. I'll let you figure that one out. I think there's going to be a lot of changes in Thailand. I can just sort of sniff change in the wind. Australia sort of just plods along from one government and a peaceful handover to the next, and not a lot. I mean, I was back there. It tends to be over legislated. There's too many rules and regulations, things I don't really like about my home country. But I don't know, it's hard to they're two very, very different countries, different histories. One started as a penal colony. Thailand sort of just morphed. It was the Khmer civilization, then it was Siam, then it was Thailand after 1932. A lot of changes. Phuket too. Bangkok will be underwater.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, Bangkok, I've done quite a lot of study about this. Bangkok is sinking. I wish I could remember. Is it 2 centimetres a year? But it's sinking. It's built on a delta, and it is slowly sinking. At the same time, the Gulf of Thailand, or sea water levels around the world, are rising, and the intensity of the rainstorms has increased over the past 10 years. Not the overall amount of rain, but the intensity of the rainstorms when they hit. All this has led to some horrendous flooding over the past couple of years in Bangkok. And there are some parts of Bangkok that will be uninhabitable in the next 20 to 30 years, as they will have to move north and east and west. They can't really move south, and some of that southern part of Bangkok will literally be underwater during not just high tide, but all tides. Phuket, well, Phuket's a very large island, and yes, I mean, the beach will encroach, but there's a lot more of Phuket that's above sort of sea level at the moment. But yeah, I mean, Tim doesn't like Australian road rules, especially after getting a speeding ticket on his last visit. They remember everything. You cannot say anything without them remembering.
You got a speeding ticket there because you were too used to the relaxed laws here.
Like, if there are speed limits in Thailand, nobody keeps to them.
They're just
in Australia,
suggestions.
it's everywhere. And even the car was beeping at me every time. It knew what the speed limit was where I was, either with GPS or whatever. And I got a fine, which I've paid, by the way, for doing 50 kilometres an hour in a 40 kilometre zone. I could have walked past my car at that speed. You're probably just about right. Potential new riverfront properties. Yeah, if you want to buy a riverside property, get something on a high floor. Probably.
Yeah.
I rent a one-bedroom house on One Rai in Isan. How much is a rai?
It's smaller than an acre.
There you go. 3,500 baht per month, electricity 400 baht, water 40 baht, super cheap in the country. Okay, I've got a property on a half rai, I've got a house, 4-bedroom house on a half rai property in Phuket. I pay 20,000 baht a month, huge garden, good area, and I pay 800 baht per month on electricity and about 60 baht in water.
We have. I couldn't tell you exactly how much our bills are, but
Ask your mother, she'll tell you.
We recently got solar panels on the house, and they are definitely a great investment. I'd say, because when you go outside and you see your meter turning backwards and selling electricity back to the grid, it's pretty nice to see. And
It works?
it works. It works fantastically. I mean, of course, with the recent rain, it's not the best, but all it needs is a little bit of light in order to function. And especially on a day like yesterday, your entire afternoon is free. It's free electricity.
But what's the investment for those solar panels? I mean, how much did you spend?
Okay, in terms of that, I can say that it would take about 10 to 12 years to get a full return. But in the meantime, I mean, in the short term, you're paying so much less. And especially for people who are single and in a smaller house that uses less, because our house is a little bit bigger than average. I mean, you might get a free electricity most days of the week, depending on the weather, of course.
Well, that's interesting. Do you know the amount that was spent, the invested, 100,000 baht for the solar panels?
I couldn't tell you in baht. I'd have to look in dollars. I do things
Quick
in
text,
dollars.
Dad, quick.
No.
This is interesting to me because my electric car, I'll be able to plug into my house, my 240 volt power, and I'll be able to charge it overnight.
Here we go. Dad says 4.5 years to break even.
4.5 hours to break even.
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
4.5 hours. Sorry. Okay. Well, no, that's not a number. Give us a dollar. Give us a baht number. I'm saying what about 100,000 baht? And they're all up on the roof, or we've got them?
Yeah. So we have them on the. Which way is the house space? We have them on the south side of the house.
That's where the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
goes, yep.
So you capture most of its span in the sky. I guess the entire back roof is dominated by the solar panels, so that entire surface is being utilized.
Yeah, but for me, if I'm recharging my car, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week, using the power in the house, then solar power would be a great advantage.
It would.
Because I'd literally be getting, my car would, the running costs would be free. Almost.
Almost, yeah.
Can you use rubles today in Thailand? This is actually an interesting question. I seem to have been speaking to a lot of Russians lately. We had Ivan on the show 2 or 3 weeks ago, a young Russian, and speaking to a Russian person yesterday. And I ran into a lovely couple the other day as well at Central. And they were just telling us a bit about what they're doing here, the fact that they're trying to set up home here in Thailand and get out of Russia. And they say that depending on the banks and depending on the day, they've been able to access their money from their Russian bank in Thailand. But they say a lot of banks currently, you can't use the ATM, but the rubles are happily being exchanged. And they said the exchange rate is better in Thailand than in most of the European countries at the moment. So it looks like Thailand is happy to accept rubles from Russian people, and there are a lot of them around Thailand, especially in Phuket at the moment, which is something we've discussed in recent weeks. Windmill and an exercise bike. It doesn't get that windy in Phuket. I don't think it gets windy enough for a windmill on your roof.
No, I wouldn't say so. Head Start had one, but it was just a small one. I guess it was maybe for more class lessons than it was for electricity. But for a short time, Head Start actually had the largest solar panel farm in Phuket. Because the parking lot, it was a covered parking lot, and that was all solar panels. Yeah.
We're obviously going to see more of this in the future, and the cost of the panels will start to get lower and lower. The technology will improve. So it's just a matter of time. I mean, certainly, if I've got a few... Tell us, Peter.
He says 500,000 baht investment.
Oh, okay, well, that's a big investment.
Yeah. And in 4.5 years, you break even.
If you want a loan, go and speak to Peter. Okay, thanks, Peter. That's interesting. Oz Kiwi says, my personal opinion, the industrious Thai people lifestyle will surpass that of countries like Australia in the future. The industrious Thai people. Well, I think Australians are generally industrious as well. Good heavens, we have half the amount of public holidays. So I think we are quite industrious. But look, I mean, they're such different cultures. It's so hard to compare culture and Australian culture, whatever that is. All Australian culture has been borrowed from all the immigrants that have arrived there over the years. There's very little of the original Indigenous culture, which still sort of pervades the Australian community, although of course modern Australians are very happy to recognise the contribution and the long-term custodianship of the Aboriginal people in Australia. I think I said that all correctly. Will Russian tourists have second thought? You're meant to be reading these, not me.
Sorry, yeah. Sa says, hi Nick and Tim, was it smart to decriminalize cannabis and make it legal? Greetings.
Well, it's been decriminalised. It hasn't quite been legalised.
It's kind of like in a Netherlands state, if you will.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, in the Netherlands, Twilight Zone. In the Netherlands, it's not technically legal for consumption and recreational use, but it's so tolerated by the local police that you could kind of get away with it. So I'd say Thailand is in a similar state with that.
Well, that's about it. The police can't act at the moment because there are no laws that give them the guidelines or the sort of the structure to fine people for whatever. So that the people who have invested in cannabis are in a horrible situation because they're operating in a sort of a complete free-for-all and somewhat of a twilight zone. And as I've said all the way along, no matter where you sit on the spectrum, people who enjoy using cannabis will continue to use it whether it's legal or not. But that situation is still very, very cloudy here in Thailand. And my bet, as I've said during the week, is that the Cannabis Bill will probably be voted down. And where does that leave all the people that have invested in cultivation, the people that have set up shops? I think it's a real mess and it's not becoming any clearer.
Yeah.
That's just my impression. Paul, where's Paul? There's Paul. Thank you, Tim and Nick. Enjoyed watching, listening in stereo over breakfast at Dean and DeLuca. That's Paul saying goodbye.
Awesome.
And Paul paid for our breakfast.
Listening in
no,
stereo.
He didn't. I should have said that when he was here and shamed him into it.
Will Russian tourists have second thoughts on Thailand now that Mr. Victor Bout has been returned to Russia after having been illegally extradited from Thailand to the US?
Over to you, Nick.
Mr. Victor Bout, I'm not really familiar with this.
I think this was a convict exchange program.
Was that with a US basketball player?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I don't know how that would affect Thailand if it was a prisoner exchange between the US and Russia. But, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, sorry.
Teddy Bear says, development comes with a price. I prefer Thailand to be as it is. Thailand has a very good balance. Look, I mean, I think wherever you are in the world, it's always easy to look back and go, it was better in the old days. I think everybody does that because they remember their youth when they had less to worry about. And now they're older, they have more to worry about. They sort of blame the modernity in the future. But I have to say, in my 63rd year, I am doing things I never thought I would. I've got more convenience, I've got a better cost of living, I've got a better standard of living, I've got better health options. Generally, my life is a lot better than it was, and the opportunities than when I was younger. We always used to talk about how wonderful Australia was, in the 50s, the 60s and the 70s, but there was a lot of things that were swept under the carpet. The misbehaviour of clergy to younger people, things that were just sort of swept under the carpet, but they happened, and at least now those sort of things are exposed. So look, I think it's very easy to look back at the past and go, things were better in the old days. But
romanticize it.
Yeah, I think it is in a way, and the music was better in the old days. Absolutely. Well, there's some really great music being made today. It's for a different generation and for a different consumption and consumed in a different way. But I think there's a lot to be said for all the decades and the generations.
Well, speaking of music, recently the list and the headliners for Rolling Loud, a very popular music festival in the States, has been recently introduced, with Travis Scott headlining the Rolling Loud festival that will take place in Pattaya next year, I believe. So if you are a hip-hop or rap enthusiast, that could be interesting to you. I don't listen to it. I'm just giving it out there.
Michael Rajpaul, thank you very much for your $5, your $5 Canadian dollars. Has the Thai airline industry recovered? What are the proposed plans for Pattaya in light of the high-speed train being built? I think the high-speed train is going very slowly at the moment. They haven't started the tracks yet. They're still building the high-speed train from where is it? The Bangkok. It's either Bangkok to Nakhon.
Wow.
Nakhon Ratchasima.
Okay.
Or it's the border at Vientiane to Nakhon Ratchasima. Either way, they're building that train, which is using Chinese technology. But the train that was meant to go from Tom Muang to through Bangkok to Suvarnabhumi, then to Pattaya, and back to that triangle, hasn't even started. So that's 5 years away.
That's an
at the
interesting
moment.
route.
Well, one would have linked the main airports
the
and the main.
Is understandable. I get that, but then all the way back up to Nakhon at the end.
No. It wasn't linked. That train would go to Bangkok, Nakhon Ratchasima to Bangkok, and that was going to be a high-speed rail. And the high-speed triangle, if you like, Pattaya, Tom Muang, Suvarnabhumi, that hasn't been started yet, so that's a fair way away. What was the rest of the question? Has the airline industry recovered? The domestic flights are absolutely recovered.
Yes.
They are currently probably about twice the price as before COVID. So they're expensive at the moment, but there are plenty of flights to most of the routes that used to be. But you'll find at the moment, and partly because it's high season, that most of the fares are around about twice what you used to pay, which is sort of on par with the fares that people are paying, to get here to Thailand at the moment. Mm-hmm. What was the cost of your airfares to go back to the US?
Well, actually now
Ask your mother.
Because it's Christmas time, it's way out of proportion. So around, sometimes you can find a fare for like $900, $800 one way to America. But then when you hit the button and change it to return flight or round trip, it's an additional $1,100 or even $1,600 on top of it. So they are through the roof to the States. At least that's what I know.
So Alan BC has clarified only Bangkok to Nakhon Ratchasima is happening. Up to Laos has been agreed, but I doubt that anything much is happening. Noting that the Chinese at the moment have built a high-speed rail through Laos to Vientiane. That would be a trip I'd love to do. I'd love to fly to Vientiane and take the train to the Chinese border, and then I'd come back. I think that would be really cool. High-speed rail through a very beautiful country.
I've taken the high-speed railway through China from Hong Kong to Guangzhou, and then from Guangzhou up to Shenzhen and up around the coast. I would say their train development is very, very spot on, and I believe it's faster than some of the rails in Europe, because I've also done the high-speed rails in Europe as well.
I did a video about this about a year ago. I think the statistic generally is that there is more high-speed rail in China, railway laid. It's double the rest of the world combined.
Wow.
So if you double all the world's high-speed railway, there's twice the amount of rail laid in China. So it's a huge investment, and a lot of it's still been running at a loss. But I think long term, the investment is probably one of the most astonishing things that China has done over the past 10, 20 years. Yeah, I think that'd be a great trip, travelling through China on high-speed rail. I've done it through Japan between Tokyo and Osaka.
Okay.
On the Shinkansen, the bullet train. So, and I've done it on the TGV between Paris and Lyon in France. I love the high-speed rail. You come to a corner and it banks like an aeroplane as it goes around the corner.
Yeah. And as the other train comes by, the sudden burst of wind is like a gun.
It's amazing. So, yeah, I think at some stage you'd have to imagine there's going to be some sort of rail line between Beijing and Singapore, like a modern-day Orient Express. I think that's a certainty at some stage.
Tim Shaw says...
Oh, Tim?
A quick update on flying tax rates you pay, compared with Nick if both were employed and earning regular salaries.
God, I don't know what my tax rate is. I have to say, I know it's a lot less than I'd pay in, say, Australia. I'm on a sort of, relative to Thai wages, on a fairly, I'm not going to tell you what my wage is, but I pay in tax 50, it's around about 15% of my wage is taxable, which is paid to the government. Yeah, what do you know about tax?
I haven't worked
Ask
here.
your mother.
I haven't worked here long enough to do that. I've only ever done taxes in the States. And so even then, because I was a minor at the time, there wasn't anything huge or crazy.
Tim, look, it's a really good question. And I think the tax rate, the whole way the taxes are done here, is quite different from Australia. But I know my income tax is at least half or less than what I'd be paying in Australia. Mind you, I'm being paid less than what I'd be paid in Australia as well for the same sort of job, but my cost of living is also much, much less. Across the board, I'm sort of in a better place to more money than I was in Australia. But as I say to everybody, don't just pack up your bags today and move to Thailand. If you do want to retire in Thailand, I'd always say come and stay here for an extended time, like 2 or 3 months, and see if you like it. Because coming for a week and living here are two very, very different things. I had dinner with Tim, I had lunch with Tim at the Manly Wharf about 2 months ago in Australia.
In Australia?
Yeah. Tim paid. Thank you very much. It was a lovely opportunity to catch up.
Vietnamese trains, I use the high-speed trains there, absolutely fabulous. They're some of them I've been really blown away with their presentation and how technologically advanced they are. Especially the ICE trains, the ICE trains in Germany, unbelievable. And actually we recently took the Eurostar from London to St. Pancras to Paris, and that was...
This is the one that goes under
the channel.
The channel.
Yeah, that was really nice.
The last time I went across the English Channel was on a hovercraft during the 1970s. That was the way that you crossed the channel. Okay, thought you'd be interested. Andreas has given us the income tax scale in Thailand. So in Thailand, for 150,000, this a month or a year? If this is annual, well, I don't really know. Anyway, people can have a look at that answer there from Andreas. We're sort of coming to a bit of a natural end, I think. We've just covered a whole lot of topics from one end to another. And hello to the 208 people that are online at the moment. This is Nick, who's been helping me out today. And you're not going to be here for a month.
No.
Okay. So no wages for the next month then. Tim, are you still going to do that project with Steve Ross? Says Jeff Perot.
I think it's Jefe. Like El Jefe? I don't know. Maybe.
Bit of Spanish coming in there. The answer is yes. Steve and I are trying to get together. We want to do a program called Grumpy Old Men. Grumpy Old Men living in Thailand, because he's got a lot of experience. He's got a very interesting perspective, and he's very good with his words. So I do look forward to that. You should have Nick back when he's available. Really, you think, Lee?
I'm flattered. I actually want to say real quick, I saw you guys talking about Van Halen in the chat room, and I gotta say Van Halen is definitely one of my favorite bands as well, and Billy Joel.
Led Zeppelin, I think you said?
And Led Zeppelin I was talking about. Yeah, I love classic rock. It's great.
Very old soul.
Yeah.
Peter, I don't know what you've been tying him down and playing him all that 80s music.
Well,
what
actually,
have you done?
I have a whole collection of different band shirts, so maybe every episode I'll put on a different shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to bone up on your Thai, by the way. I thought you'd be
Sorry.
very fluent in Thai.
Oh, it's Mandarin. 我会说一点的中文.
Which you say with a perfect American accent.
Yeah.
Do Chinese understand you?
I prefer using Mandarin Chinese because I typically am more understood in Chinese than I am in Thai, which is why I prefer it. So, for example,
But do Chinese people understand you?
they do.
Even
That's
with
why-
your heavy American accent?
Well, because I'll tone it down when I speak to them, of course.
Okay.
But to them, I speak very slowly, but they still understand what I'm trying to say. And even if I mispronounce a character or something, they'll still get the general idea of what I was trying to say.
That's what I hoped would happen to
Yeah.
me in Thailand. But when
in
I speak in
Thailand-
Thai,
In Thailand, even when I do it in the full Thai accent, it's sometimes others don't understand at all.
somebody likes ZZ Top. They're the ones with the
Beards,
the
the spinning
long beard,
guitars.
right?
Yeah.
Spinning guitars. I remember. Are they still around? They're still touring in wheelchairs. I haven't heard of ZZ Top for a long, long time. Okay, so I think we've come to anything you'd like to say before you head off to the United States for your Christmas holidays.
My Christmas holidays.
You're going
I
to
guess Colorado skiing.
Crazy.
And what I'd like to say, actually, I'll answer a quick few questions. What part of the States are you from? I grew up in Connecticut, in Newtown, Connecticut, just this far away from New York. And do I drink American beer? I do not drink American beer. And what's my favorite in Thailand? I don't like beer.
What's your favourite drink of choice?
Alcoholic
Lemon iced tea.
Lemon iced tea. Alcoholic beverage would be a mojito.
A what?
A mojito.
Oh, mojito.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't drink alcohol, I don't know. Have a nice Saturday full of peace and harmony, says Azzy Akai. Visitor is nice. Kay, I think he's referring to you as the visitor. The visitor. I think we need to get a t-shirt saying, the visitor. Nick, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
Been fun having Nick, a bit of generation gap, hearing thoughts from a young Thai, half American. Thank you, Peter, for lending him to us for the day. And I basically said to Nick, if he's still around next year, he's welcome to work with TNT if he's got a bit of extra time. We're sort of getting to the stage where I need some right-hand help. So are you right or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Well, you can be my right-hand help then.
Okay.
So thank you all for dropping in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel on your way out. And I just really appreciate you dropping in, spending this time with us. Hopefully you've enjoyed just hearing a different perspective on things from an 18-year-old compared to, a 25-year-old. So thank you very much. Thanks,
Okay.
Peter.
Thank you.
And I'm paying for breakfast. And thanks to Dean and DeLuca. And that's about it. We'll see you next time, back on Monday. I'm in Penang next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's program at least will be from Penang in Malaysia. So I'll be on a plane tomorrow afternoon. Tim Newston is the best. I don't know who Tim Newston is, but I'm sure he's a wonderful person. Thanks all. We'll see you next time.
See you.